What is going on, everybody? It is Noobski94, and today we're going to be talking about Elemental Shaman PVE in World of Warcraft Legion. So I want to create a video for those of you that are interested in Elemental Shaman PVE in Legion, but want a little bit more insight on the class and a little bit of information on how the class is played to see if it would be a class for you in Legion. So I want to quickly talk about the talents of Elemental Shaman and my personal opinion on the talents you should roll, and then I'm going to show you guys the DPS rotation of an Elemental Shaman and how the playstyle works. So I highly recommend those of you that are truly interested in Elemental Shaman to go online, get a talent calculator out, and read up on all the moves they have for their talent tree. But I'm just going to be going over the ones I specifically think are the most important in PvE. So for the level 15 talent for Elemental Shamans, I like to do Totem Mastery. I like Totem Mastery because it offers you a wide variety of stats, and when you place them, it doesn't cost anything to place, it has no cooldown, they last for 2 minutes, it is strictly just a bunch of extra stats for your character. So it summons 4 different totems, and each totem does a unique buff, generates 1 Maelstrom every 1 second, increases the chance of Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning to trigger Elemental Overload by 10%, increases Flame Shock damage over time by 10%, which is just our dot, and then increases your haste by 2%, which is a nice stat because Elemental Shamans stack critical strike rating, and adding a little bit of haste to that is a really nice bonus. So to quickly go over Elemental Overload, for those of you that don't know what Elemental Overload is, it is the Elemental Shaman's mastery. What it does is your Lightning Bolt, Elemental Blast, Chain Lightning, and Lava Burst casts have a 32% chance. Now this percentage will vary depending on your mastery, but of course, obviously. But for me, it has a 32% chance of triggering a second cast on the same target for 84% of the normal damage and Maelstrom generation. So basically 1 in 3 of my casts will be doubling itself up for 84% of its original damage and generating 84% of its original Maelstrom if it does generate Maelstrom. So for the level 30 talent, it really depends on the situation. It depends on the fight that you're doing in your raid. I really love Gust of Wind. It's a really nice move. It's only a 15-second cooldown and it launches you forward. It's instant cast. It has no cost. It's a 15-second cooldown. It's a beautiful move. It's really great for high mobility fights. The other option is Windrush Totem. It's a totem that you can place anywhere for 15 seconds. It has a pretty long cooldown, a 2-minute cooldown, but it provides allies that run past it in a 10-yard radius a 60% increased movement speed for 5 seconds. So honestly, again, it depends on the fight. It depends on the situation, which one you're going to need most is totally up to the fight itself. Same with the level 45 talent. For your level 45 talent, which is your 3rd tier down, you got your Lightning Surge Totem, your Earth Grab Totem, and your Voodoo Totem. Each of these totems are great. You got a hard stun, you got an AoE root, and you got an AoE hex. It really depends on the fight itself, but I personally like to do Earth Grab Totem, especially for farming dungeons, because if the tank loses control of aggro, you could easily CC a very large group of mobs and burst them down with AoE. So for your level 60 talent, Elemental Blast, hands down. It's unbelievable. It works very well with your rotation, and I'm going to quickly read it out for you guys. Harnesses the raw power of the elements, dealing 122,000 elemental damage, and increases your critical strike, haste, or mastery by 1200 for 10 seconds. Now get this, that's 1200 to your haste, mastery, or critical strike. I have item level 950 boots right now, and it's giving me 490 critical strike rating. This move is going to give me 1200 of a random stat. That's like a little bit more than doubling an 850 item level piece of gear right now for the secondary stat. And then to add on to this, it's 12-second cooldown, and those stats last for 10 seconds. There's only 2 seconds of downtime where you don't have this stat. And then Elemental Overload, there's a 30% chance that this thing will double cast, which means I'm going to get 2 of these stats. I'm going to get either like 2 of any random stat, like haste and crit or haste and mastery, increased by 1200 for the 10 seconds, and that's unbelievable. Like the amount of stat increase alone that this move has to give you is massive, and it's a 12-second cooldown. It does a whole bunch of damage in itself, and it fits really nicely in your rotation. So Elemental Blast is a must in my opinion. So for your level 75 talent, it actually has good synergy with your level 90 talent. I've been playing around with Primal Elementalist and Storm Elemental. So what Storm Elemental is for your level 90 is that it's going to change your Fire Elemental to a Storm Elemental, which is a much more powerful version. And Primal Elementalist, your Earth, Fire, and Storm Elementals are drawn from Primal Elementalists, 80% more powerful than regular elements with additional abilities, and you gain direct control over them. The Storm Elemental has a 5-minute cooldown, so it has a very large cooldown, but it adds about 40,000 DPS overall for 1 minute. This move is pretty wicked. Taking a look at Fist of Reden, you go to Elementalist, which is a stat, and ignore what my Fist of Reden is right now. Don't copy this. This is my first level 110. I just kind of threw talents on where I best thought they should belong, but it was quite random. I really didn't know what I was doing, so don't copy what I have here. But take a look at Elementalist here. Each time you cast Lava Burst, the remaining cooldown of Storm Elemental is reduced by 2 seconds. If you have Fire Elemental, it'll say that your Fire Elemental will be reduced by 2 seconds. But this is great. I mean, you're hitting Lava Burst fairly often on bosses, especially when it does its instant cast procs. And this is really going to chisel down quite a bit of time on your Storm Elemental. It could chisel down a minute or more before you can proc it again. So you're looking at maybe a 3-minute cooldown with 1 minute uptime of a Storm Elemental. And the Storm Elemental is generating you 10 Maelstrom every single time it casts. And it's doing 40,000 DPS on its own, just by itself, added to your DPS. So it is, I personally think it's one of the better options to choose for PvE right now. Plus you're going to be using Earthshock a lot more frequently because the Maelstrom generation of the Storm Elemental is just insane. You're going to be doing a lot more damage output with the Storm Elemental up. And the downtime isn't too long if you have Elementalist active on the Fist of Reden. Now, if you don't want to roll that, the other option that I was looking at that is also really great for synergy is swap out your 90 talent. Instead of Storm Elemental, go to Elemental Mastery, which is going to increase your haste by 20% for 20 seconds with a 2-minute cooldown. And this has synergy with your level 100 talent, which I would do Ascendance with. So what Ascendance is it transforms you into a Fire Ascendant for 15 seconds, replacing Chain Lightning with Lava Beam, and removing the cooldown on Lava Burst and increasing the damage of Lava Burst by an amount equal to your critical strike chance. So Lava Burst normally has a cooldown, and it has a 100% critical strike chance if Flame Shock is on the target. With Ascendance active, you can hit Lava Burst as much as you want for the 15 seconds. Consistently just spam the hell out of that move and your DPS is going to go rocketing high. And then what you do is you stack this with Elemental Mastery, which is going to increase your haste by 20%. You're going to be putting out about 20% more Lava Bursts during the time that Ascendance is up. Now Ascendance has a 3-minute cooldown, so it is really, this is a situational talent choice. It's really great for fights where you have to really nuke down a target. If you need to nuke down a target, definitely do the Elemental Mastery and Ascendance combination. Other than that, I've been loving Primal Elementalist and Storm Elemental for overall increase on DPS. And then if you do have Primal Elementalist and Storm Elemental active, you throw Lightning Rod on for your level 100 talent. And what Lightning Rod does is your Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning have a 30% chance to make the primary target a Lightning Rod for 10 seconds. Lightning Rods take 40% of all damage you deal with Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning. At first, I thought it was an AoE move, like if there's like 2 targets to be fighting, this would be a good move. But no, it actually literally just increases the damage of your Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolts on a single target. So you could be casting Lightning Bolt. It's a 30% chance that when you cast it, it will activate this Lightning Rod on the target, and it's going to add an additional 40% of the damage you deal with every Lightning Bolt on that target. So essentially, you're just adding 40% damage to your Lightning Bolt if you're spamming Lightning Bolt on one target, or if you do get a bunch of trash mobs come running in and your boss has Lightning Rod active and you start doing Chain Lightning to many targets, all that damage, all the damage of Chain Lightning done, 40% of it is going to be shot at the main boss, which is absolutely wonderful. And this works very well with Storm Elementalist and Primal Elementalist. If you're gonna go with Ascendance and Elemental Mastery, my level 70 talent is Elemental Fusion. Flame Shock has a 5% increased chance to trigger Lava Surge, which is fantastic. It doesn't seem like very much, but I've noticed a big difference on how often my Lava Burst procs. So that's my opinion on the talent tree. Go ahead and search it up, read for yourself. You can try out different things by all means. This is just what I personally like to do, and this is what I've been getting most performance out of. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the rotation. So I'm going to start off with Elemental Blast before I use any other move because I want the added stats before I use anything else. Then I'm going to use Flame Shock and keep Flame Shock on the target at all times because it's going to make my Lava Burst always crit. Then I'm going to go ahead and fire a Lava Burst off at the target. Then I'm going to use Stormkeeper, which is my artifact weapon's active. And what it's going to do is it's going to make my next 3 lightning bolts or chain lightning deal 200% increased damage. So you're essentially dealing the damage of 3 lightning bolts instead of 1. And then you're going to go ahead and spam lightning bolt, and you're just going to keep hitting lightning bolt until Elemental Blast will come off cooldown or Lava Burst will come off cooldown or proc. During this time, you're going to make sure that Flame Shock is always active on the target. Keep using Lightning Bolt as a filler, which is going to keep accumulating Maelstrom, and at 100 Maelstrom, you're going to go ahead and use Earth Shock. Earth Shock will consume anywhere between 10 to 100 Maelstrom, depending on what you have. It just basically empties out your Maelstrom, and it'll deal damage based off of the quantity of Maelstrom it consumes. So the only time you ever want to use Earth Shock is when you have maxed out Maelstrom. Be sure to keep your Totem Mastery down at all times at the start of the fight, and throughout the entire fight. Of course, you want to keep your Totem Mastery down for those added stats. And it's pretty much as simple as that. Proc your Storm Elemental if you go with Storm Elemental, or if you go with Ascendant. You'll know when to use these moves. Use Stormkeeper whenever it's available. Make sure Elemental Blast is up at all times. Make sure that you have those stat increases. And then use Lava Burst every single time it's available. Lastly, I wanted to talk a little bit about Chain Lightning because out of every class, the AoE potential of Chain Lightning is very sporadic. So what they've done to Chain Lightning is actually pretty amazing. First, we're going to look at the Fist of Roden's little talent tree here, and we're going to look at Static Overload. You guys need to get Static Overload for PvE because what this is going to do is that Chain Lightning has a 10% chance to cause Elemental Overload to trigger on every target. Now, at first, I did not really understand what this meant, but after using it, I realized that it is just a really low chance of an amazing amount of AoE damage, and it looks absolutely amazing. When you cast Chain Lightning and it doesn't overload, every single target that was hit by that Chain Lightning will each receive an individual Chain Lightning to each of those targets. It's one of the funnest AoE classes I've ever played in terms of, AoE casting. It's just amazing to have so much AoE burst and so much AoE damage available. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. If you did like my video, be sure to give it a like. If you do want to see more WoW, be sure to subscribe. I'm going to try and upload every day to second day with some new content for you guys, whether it be guides or just fun stuff. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the battlefield.